As the sun sinks into the horizon and darkness blankets the sky, Highgate Manor comes alive.
This house has some stories to tell, and that might be why, I'm the skeptic. But if there could be, this house would definitely have some people staying here.
Owner Ben Osmondson isn't talking about paying guests. He's talking about voices from the past, people who once lived and died here.
After having the house a full year, this house is full of surprises.
While Ben and his wife Jill don't really believe in ghosts, they welcome in a group that's on the search for them. It's their third time here.
We didn't have this our first couple times.
Eastside Paranormal investigates all things unusual. They're spending the night, and so are we.
Got more excited as we heard the history behind the house. So we came here, we did our investigation, came up kind of dry until we went to review the evidence, and we got some pretty strange recordings.
As the story goes, Dr. Henry Baxter bought the house in 1870. Most of his children died here before the age of 10, all of strange illnesses.
Now, depending on which side of the story you're on, there's two versions to it. Version one would be that they were dying at a very young age because he was experimenting on them.
Others say he was just trying new techniques to save their lives.
There's actually a blood stain still on the floor.
Either way, many wonder if the Baxter children are sticking around, waiting to be cured.
How's it now?
Not bad. Someone just shut a light off.
Using sensitive audio and video equipment, the members of Eastside Paranormal get to work.
When we go to a place to say either it's haunted or not, we hope, we're giving you the best scientific answer we possibly can.
In complete darkness, the questions fly.
Are there any of the Baxter children around who would like to talk to us today?
Did something bad happen here?
Special equipment tests for cold spots and spikes of electromagnetic energy. Signs that something beyond the norm may be in the room.
There's someone here. Come on. Drop the temperature. Use the energy around you. Do something. Come on.
Guests often feel a strange presence in the basement bar named after one-time visitor Al Capone. The cave-like room even links up with the Underground Railroad. Jessica Treya keeps an eye on this hotspot.
When you think about it, you're just like, we can't be the only ones out here, and you want to investigate.
As dawn breaks, the investigation is done. Shane says the hours of hard work paid off. When audio tapes were reviewed, 2 recorded questions were answered.
Is anyone else here? Are there multiple people?
Are the voices in the background real or a trick of the mind? Listen again.
Is anyone else here? Are there multiple people?
Bior and his team say the responses, which sound like yes'm and 33, may be the spirit of a former slave using the Underground Railroad. Did you hear it? A whole new mystery and a whole new day as the sun rises over Highgate Manor.
What is it about Dutton House that you don't like?
It's haunted. It just is.
From the outside, Dutton House appears to be a quaint old home. It's a favorite among tourists at Shelburne Museum. But on the inside,
I've only had a couple of experiences, and that was mostly slamming doors when I knew there was no one in here.
And the sounds of footsteps and voices.
I've been to the top of the stairs, and I remember hearing a little girl crying, and then that set me right back down the stairs.
This house was built in 1782 in Cavendish, Vermont, and the Dutton family lived in here until the early 1900s, and then it sat empty for about 40 years until it was donated to the Shelburne Museum. Then it was brought up here piece by piece and meticulously put back together on the grounds. And along with the nails and boards, possibly came a ghost.
These would be family rooms.
While some tour guides haven't felt the full chilling effects of Dutton House, others won't step foot in the place. Katie Krieger had a bad experience the first day she worked here.
Okay, so you haven't been up here since that day?
No, I haven't.
How you feeling? Are you all right?
A little afraid.
Okay.
It's, a little
You're not
creepy.
You're okay? You're not hearing anything?
No,
okay,
I don't hear
I'm right here with you.
Okay.
It was 3 summers ago.
Do you feel something?
My hands are cold.
Getting Katie to return and tell us what she heard wasn't easy.
Yeah, it was kind of like the like.
It couldn't have been the floorboards creaking?
It definitely wasn't that. It was definitely separate from a floorboard sound.
But it's what she saw that really made her heart beat fast.
It was right over here that there was a gentleman sort of hunkered down, and he had a white shirt on and a very scruffy face. When I noticed that nobody else saw that, that was when I walked a lot faster.
As for stories like this, author Joe Citro has heard them all.
It does kind of tweak our imaginations a little bit, if nothing else, and that's good.
The tale of Dutton House has always been one of his favorites.
And my father would tell me about this haunted house that he and his friends had gone to and had been scared out of.
That was years before the house was moved to the museum. Now all anyone can do is guess who's haunting the place.
The list of suspects is long because it was a big family, and for a while the house was used as an inn.
I understand there was a little girl, a child, and also a young woman.
But Katie has no doubt she saw a man.
You don't think anybody's playing a trick on you here?
It would be a really cruel trick.
As the leaves begin to change, the memory of a day like this one, 44 years earlier, become as crystal clear as the waters of Lake Placid.
Probably right about there.
On that day, Captain Frank Pabst took a team of experienced young divers on an excursion that started near Pulpit Rock.
First two divers in the water were Jimmy Rogers and Dick Niffnager. They went to the bottom and they found what they thought was a department store mannequin.
But this was no mannequin. Randy Larkin was 17 years old at the time. He remembers it like it was yesterday.
And the whole thing was intact at that point until we shook the body and the face disintegrated, the head fell off.
The team flagged down a passing boat to call authorities. Soon after, the investigation began. The autopsy results were shocking.
They had to open her up with a bucksaw because these great waters of Lake Placid had permeated the tissue to such a level that the tissue formed like a wax-like tallow substance where skin and exterior tissue was. But all of her internal organs were just as pink and healthy as if she'd have died 5 minutes earlier.
So who was this person, and how did she end up at the bottom of the lake? The story started to come together as the divers shared more of what they saw.
She had a 50-pound weight tied 15 inches from her neck, the distance from her fingertips and my elbow.
State police couldn't confirm that part, but a search of missing persons records turned up one name, Mabel Smith Douglas.
Mabel Smith was one of the first female educators to ever rise to the position of a college president, and she was the founder and president of what's now Douglas College.
Chris Ortloff, who wrote a book about the case, says when Douglas disappeared in 1933, she was recovering from a mental breakdown. She was released from an institution to spend the summer on Lake Placid with her daughter.
But the day before she was to go back to New Jersey is the day she died.
As the story goes, on September 21st, 1933, the 56-year-old Douglas rowed a small boat more than 2 miles to Pulpit Rock. Some men working on the lake said they might have seen her there.
But the next time they looked, the boat was overturned and there was no sign of the person. They went to the shore. They towed the boat back in. They looked for the body. They looked for the person, and they found nothing.
It's a tale that's told over and over again to this very day for tourists who climb aboard the Doris II cruise ship on Lake Placid.
They found the body of Mabel Smith Douglas, folks.
Even though her death was ruled accidental, the details of how she died keep the mystery alive.
I think she committed suicide. There's a lot of tragic things in her family.
Frank Pabst has a more sinister theory.
If you had a body to dispose of, put the body down in the bottom of the boat, put the weight alongside the neck because you know it's not going to slip off the neck, tie the rope off, and at the right time, wearing this black hat and dress, roll the boat over and just swim underwater a distance.
One of her arms and the anchor that held her down were never recovered. But what about the spirit of Mabel Smith Douglas? Is she still around?
I'd be a little nervous being around Pulpit Rock Halloween time.